Okay, picture this scenario. It's a Tuesday night. It's been one of those long days. You're at the grocery store
Mm,
and you've made that fatal error of not grabbing a cart because you thought, "Oh, I only need like 3 things."
always a mistake. Every time.
Every single time. And now you've got 6 heavy bags,
Yeah.
the eco-friendly canvas ones that have absolutely no structural integrity. The straps are like literally cutting off the circulation in your palms.
You're losing feeling in your fingers.
Exactly. I'm losing feeling in 3 fingers, and I'm trying to fish my car keys out of my pocket with like my pinky finger while balancing a carton of eggs under my chin. You are visibly, physically struggling.
Yeah.
A friend, or maybe even just a nice stranger, walks up and says, "Hey, let me grab a couple of those for you." And what do?
Oh, I know this one. You immediately smile, that tight, polite smile. You sort of shift your body away like a linebacker protecting a football, and you say, "Nope, I got it. I'm fine. It's all good."
It's all good.
Even though you are clearly about to drop a jar of marinara sauce directly on your foot.
Exactly. Or, think about the colleague at work. The one who is absolutely drowning in deadlines, staying till 9 p.m. every single night. Their eyes are bloodshot. They're on their 5th coffee.
Hmm.
You offer to take just one spreadsheet off their plate just to help out. And they look at you like you just asked to adopt their firstborn child and raise it in a circus.
Right. They get defensive. They say, no, no, I'll handle it. It's just faster if I do it myself.
It's the classic. It's the absolute classic refusal to accept help, even when the ship is, actively sinking.
Totally.
And we usually look at these people, or, I mean, let's be honest, maybe we are these people, and we think, wow, look at that work ethic, or she is so strong, she doesn't need anyone. We wear it like a badge of honor.
Right. It's seen as a virtue.
But today, we're going to peel back that label. We're asking a pretty uncomfortable question. Is this actually strength, or is it a shield?
And that is a vital distinction to make. Because what you're describing, it isn't just being capable or efficient. It's a concept called hyper-independence.
Yeah.
And the sources that we've been looking at today, they suggest that this isn't just a quirky personality trait, like, liking cilantro or being a morning person.
Yeah.
It's often a trauma response. It's to the point where I can do it myself, stops being a statement of ability, and it starts being a mechanism for survival.
That's a heavy pivot right there, but that is exactly why we're here. We are doing a deep dive into hyper-independence. We want to unpack why we lie to ourselves about needing help, and ultimately our mission today is to figure out how to move from that isolating fortress of "I'm fine" to something called interdependence.
Which is a much healthier, I have to say, albeit much scarier place to be.
It is scary. So to guide us through this, we've got a great stack of fascinating research. We're pulling psychological profiles from very well minds, some really good clinical insights from choosing therapy. And because we like to keep it grounded, we have a very raw, very real case study from a Reddit community forum that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people listening.
Oh, that Reddit story, it really anchors all the clinical stuff.
Yeah.
It shows us what this looks like, in the wild, not just in a textbook definition.
Exactly. It puts a human face on it. So let's get into it. Section 1. Let's just unpack the term first. Hyper-independence.
Right.
Because I think most of us value independence, don't we? Paying your own bills, knowing how to cook a meal, not having to call your mom to schedule your own dentist appointment when you're 35. That's good stuff.
Of course.
We aren't saying you should become like a leech on society.
Absolutely not. That's what we'd call functional adult independence. And the sources, particularly Dr. Amy Marshall from Very Well Mind, she makes a really clear distinction here. Healthy independence is about self-sufficiency. It's about being able to manage your life. You can do things alone.
Right. It's about capability.
Hyper-independence is different. It's an extreme. It is a conscious, and this is the key word, intentional choice to reject help, even when you desperately, desperately need it.
Intentional choice to reject help. That really is the key phrase, isn't it?
It is. It's the refusal to rely on others, because the very act of relying on someone feels dangerous. It isn't, I can do this. It's, I must do this because I cannot trust anyone else to do it. Or, maybe even deeper, I cannot bear the feeling of needing someone.
So it's driven by fear, not confidence. That's so interesting because on the surface, it looks so much like confidence. It looks like swagger.
Precisely. It presents as confidence from the outside. The whole, I don't need anyone, I'm a lone wolf persona. But inside, it is so often driven by a fear of betrayal, a fear of disappointment, or just a deep-seated fear of being vulnerable. It's a fortress.
And what do we know about fortresses?
Fortresses are built because you think you are under attack.
So, to make this really concrete, let's bring in that Reddit story I mentioned. This was posted in the Deciding to Be Better community, which I think kind of sets the stage nicely. This person already knows something is wrong.
They're already self-aware. That's a huge step.
It's a huge step. So, it's from a woman who has been with her boyfriend for about 16 months. And she starts the post by describing this massive emotional argument they just had.
Okay, so what sparked it? Was it, the usual suspects?
Yeah.
Money, cheating?
Nope, not at all. It was her hyper independence. Her boyfriend looked at her and said something that, it just stopped me in my tracks. He told her it feels like she is in a relationship with herself.
Oof. Wow. That is a devastating thing to hear from someone you love.
Isn't it? He said he feels like there is no space for him. There's no space for him to make decisions, no space for him to be relied upon. He is, in his words, essentially a spectator in her life because she handles absolutely everything.
And you see this. She's the one who fixes the leaky sink. She books all the travel. She manages the entire emotional climate of the relationship.
Exactly.
And that's the classic paradox of the hyper-independent person in a partnership. They genuinely think they're being a low-maintenance, a perfect partner by never being needy. They think,
Right.
I'm a catch. I never ask for anything.
Right. Look how easy I am to be with.
But the partner just ends up feeling useless. They feel redundant. Connection requires friction. It requires leaning on each other. If you never, ever lean, you never actually connect.
She goes on to give some context, and this is where it gets really, really interesting for anyone who grew up in a certain kind of family dynamic. She identifies as the eldest daughter.
Ah, yes, the eldest daughter syndrome. We see this all the time in clinical settings.
She says she was the family therapist. She was the one who helped her parents communicate with each other. She parented her younger sister. She was the one ensuring the whole family unit was functioning.
She was the little adult in the
The
room.
little adult. And she wrote this one line that just, it sums it all up. She said, "Since everyone seemingly was relying on me, I grew up feeling like I didn't really have anyone to rely on entirely."
And that is a textbook setup for hyperindependence. It's a phenomenon we call parentification. When a child is forced to take on adult emotional or, functional responsibilities, they learn a very hard lesson at a very young age.
Which is?
My needs don't matter. My job is to be the provider of care, not the receiver of care.
It's a total role reversal.
Exactly. They internalize this idea that if they don't do it, it just won't get done. And even worse, they learn that the adults in the room, the very people who are supposed to protect them and be their safety net, are not reliable. If you're 10 years old and you were the one soothing your mother after a fight with your father, you realize pretty quickly, okay, the safety net is gone. I am the net.
So you fast forward 20 years, she's in this relationship with this guy, and she literally doesn't know how to let him help her. It isn't that she doesn't want to, she just has no internal script for it. It's like trying to speak a language she never ever learned.
That's a perfect analogy. Her brain has been wired for over 2 decades to equate safety with doing it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so to let him in, to rely on him, it feels like walking a tightrope without a net. It feels reckless to her nervous system.
So, apart from the clear relationship struggles, what else does this look like day to day? The Choosing Therapy article gave us a pretty useful checklist. If you're listening right now and you're wondering, is this me or am I just, super organized? Well, this is for you.
Right. So one of the biggest signs, according to the sources, is overachieving.
The classic workaholic.
Yes, but it's a specific kind of workaholic. It's the person who commits to projects until they are drowning. They physically cannot manage the load, but they still keep saying yes.
Why, though? Why do they do that?
Because they believe, on some level, that they're the only ones who can execute it properly. It's not just ambition, it's a compulsion. They can't say no because saying no implies a limit, and to them, limits imply weakness.
Which leads right into the next one, refusing to delegate. The core belief that if I want it done right, I have to do it myself. I feel like a lot of managers and just people in general really struggle with this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a double-edged sword. On one level, sure, it's about quality control. Maybe you really are better at the task. But if you dig deeper, it's almost always about trust.
How so?
If I give this important task to you and you fail, I get hurt. Or I look bad to my boss. My reputation's on the line. So it's just safer if I do it. I guarantee the outcome. I control the variable.
Control. That word's going to come up a lot, I think.
It's central to this whole thing.
Another sign the sources mention is guardedness or secretiveness. This isn't necessarily like lying about things, is it?
No, it's not malicious deception. It's more like an information embargo. Hyper-independent people are often very, very private.
Hmm.
They're reluctant to share personal information because in their past, that information might have been used against them.
Like a weapon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they have this deep fear that if they show their messy side, people will be repulsed and reject them. So they present this polished, perfect exterior. They're the ones who always look put together, whose house is always clean, even when their internal life is falling apart.
And then there's this deep, almost visceral dislike of neediness.
Oh, this is a big one. They hate being needy themselves, and they often really judge others who are needy. So if a friend calls them crying over a breakup for the third time, the hyper independent person might support them on the surface, but internally they might be thinking, ooh, pull yourself together. Why can't you just handle this?
So they're basically projecting their own internal drill sergeant onto everybody else.
100%. They have suppressed their own needs so deeply and for so long that seeing someone else display needs feels almost offensive. It's triggering.
And finally, just a baseline of mistrust, a fundamental assumption that at the end of the day, people will let you down.
Which, of course, becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. It's a tragic loop. If you never trust anyone with anything important, you never give them the opportunity to come through for you.
So you never get any new data.
You never experience being supported. So you stay confirmed in your core bias that people are unreliable. You prove yourself right every single day by never, ever testing the hypothesis.
Wow, it's a really lonely loop to be stuck in.
Incredibly lonely. It's a fortress, but it's also a prison.
So we've talked about what it looks like. Now I really want to understand the why. You mentioned trauma earlier. How does something like trauma physically rewire someone to be this way? Because it feels so much like a personality trait, like being stubborn, but you're saying it's biological.
It is deeply biological.
Yeah.
When we talk about trauma, we're often talking about the brain's survival response, the fight or flight mechanism.
Right, the classic example, a bear attacks you in the woods, your adrenaline spikes and you run.
Exactly. But trauma isn't always a bear attack. It isn't always a car crash or a war zone. It could be what we call small town trauma. It can be chronic neglect. It can be an emotionally unpredictable, chaotic home life.
Okay.
When a child is in that kind of environment, their brain is constantly scanning for threats. Their nervous system is on high alert 24/7. If the threat is that no one's going to feed you or no one's going to comfort you when you cry, the brain learns a very powerful lesson.
That lesson being,
Dependence is dangerous.
so the brain actually tags asking for help as a threat to your survival.
Precisely. The source from Very Well Mind explains that if this trauma goes unprocessed, the body literally stays in survival mode. The brain forges a strong neural pathway that pairs relying on others with pain or danger or disappointment.
So 20 years later.
20 years later, a kind partner offers to do the dishes for you, and your nervous system might flare up at the same level of anxiety you felt as a kid when you realized no one was coming to pick you up from school.
It's a misfiring of the internal safety system.
That is just fascinating. It's like your internal wiring is completely crossed. What should feel safe feels dangerous, and what is actually isolating and dangerous feels safe.
Yes. Your body says, I am safe when I am alone. I am safe when I am in control. And anything that threatens that control, like an offer of help, triggers a genuine stress response.
And the sources mention adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, as a major cause. These are the big things, right? Abuse, neglect, growing up with a parent who had substance abuse issues.
Yes, those are the big drivers.
But I want to highlight something that the sources call the sign of weakness myth, because this is more subtle.
This is so crucial because a lot of people listen to this and think, well, I wasn't abused. My parents were good people, so this doesn't apply to me. But this can happen even in families that might look functional or even high achieving on paper.
Maybe there wasn't abuse, but there was an incredibly high value placed on competitiveness. Or families where crying was shamed, where asking for help was met with a dismissive, figure it out.
Big boys don't cry. You're a smart girl. You can handle it. Don't be such a baby.
Exactly. Those messages, repeated over and over, teach a child that their value comes from their performance and their autonomy. To ask for help is to admit you're defective. So they learn to hide their needs to maintain their status, to maintain their sense of being loved in the family. They learn that love is conditional on being low maintenance.
And then there's the Reddit users situation, parentification. We touched on this, but let's go a bit deeper because I think this affects so many people.
Yes, this is a huge driver of hyperindependence. When those roles are reversed, when the child is the one taking care of the parent emotionally or functionally,
Ugh.
the child learns that their entire self-worth is tied to giving care.
They have no model for receiving it.
They have no model. Receiving care feels wrong. It feels selfish. It feels like they're failing at their primary job. Their thinking is, if I pause to take care of myself, the whole family structure might collapse. And that is a massive, crushing burden for a little kid to carry.
It creates this identity where they are the strong one. And being the strong one becomes their entire personality. So if they put down that load, who are they even?
That is a terrifying existential question for them. And it links directly to the psychology of control. Hyperindependence is, at its core, a control mechanism. Trauma, by its very nature, usually involves a profound loss of control. Something bad happened to you that you couldn't stop.
So this is a way of getting that control back.
It's a way to try. By doing everything yourself, you control every single variable. You control the outcome. It's a strategy to alleviate anxiety. If I'm the one driving the car, I know he won't crash. If I'm the one planning the trip, I know the hotel will be nice. If I'm the one who handles the conflict, I know it will be resolved.
Until, of course, you burn out from doing everything.
Mhm.
But we'll get to the cost of that in a minute. I want to touch on something the Choosing Therapy article mentioned that I found really helpful. It drew a distinction between hyperindependence and hypervigilance. I have to admit, I always thought those were basically the same thing.
They're cousins, but they're not twins. And it's a really useful distinction. Hypervigilance is a subconscious state. It is being constantly on high alert.
So it's not a choice.
It's not a choice. It's your nervous system. It's scanning the room for exits, reading people's micro expressions to see if they're angry, listening for tiny changes in their tone of voice. It's automatic. It's like your internal radar is jammed on high.
Okay, so that's the sensory input part, the feeling.
Right. Hyperindependence is the conscious behavioral choice that follows. It is the decision to say, I will not ask for help. I will do this project by myself. So they often happen together. You scan the room for threats, that's hypervigilance, and then you decide you were the only one competent enough to handle them. That's hyperindependence.
Ah, okay. So one is the detection system, the other is the strategy you deploy based on what the system detects.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
That makes sense. The sources also listed a bunch of associated mental health conditions. Now, obviously, we're not diagnosing anyone listening here, but it's really interesting to see where this particular trait tends to pop up.
It really creates a kind of constellation of conditions. PTSD is the big one, of course, because of the shattered sense of trust in the world and in other people. But you also see it show up a lot in avoidant personality disorder, or AVPD.
Okay, what's the connection there?
With AVPD, the person feels so deeply inadequate that they just disconnect from people entirely to avoid any chance of rejection. It's like they leave the party before anyone can ask them to leave.
Yeah.
So hyperindependence becomes their tool for maintaining that distance.
And narcissistic personality disorder was on the list. That one actually surprised me. I tend to think of narcissists as wanting attention and supply, not being independent.
Well, it's a different flavor of it. Remember that narcissism is often a mask for profound insecurity. A narcissist might project this extreme hyperdependence as a way to maintain power and a sense of superiority. It's, I don't need anyone because I am better than everyone.
So it's a tool of control.
It shields them from the vulnerability of needing others, which they view as disgustingly weak. It's always about maintaining the upper hand.
Then there was borderline personality disorder, or BPD.
Right, which is usually associated with an intense fear of abandonment. So sometimes people with the BPD will flip into a state of hyperindependence as a kind of preemptive strike.
The logic being,
I will need no one, therefore no one can abandon me. It's a protective wall. It's the relationship equivalent of screaming, you can't fire me, I quit.
it seems like regardless of the specific diagnostic label, the core theme is always protection.
Protection and fear.
Yeah.
Every time.
So we've firmly established that this is a shield, it's an adaptation, it kept you safe when you were a kid or when you were in a really bad situation. But now it's heavy. So let's talk about the cost. Because there is a very real price tag attached to going it alone.
A very, very high price tag.
Let's go back to our Reddit couple. What's the cost for them in their relationship?
For the partner of a hyper-independent person, the cost is feeling emotionally shut out. They feel redundant. They feel useless. Imagine being in a relationship where you genuinely want to support someone, you love them, but every single time you reach out a hand, you hit a cold, hard glass wall.
That must be so frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Oh.
And over time, it leads to what we call relationship burnout.
So the partner just gives up eventually.
Often, yes. Or they start to feel deeply insecure themselves. They start asking, why doesn't she trust me? Am I not good enough? Does she think I'm incompetent? It creates this massive, unhealthy imbalance.
Right.
A healthy relationship is reciprocal. It's a dance. I carry you sometimes. You carry me sometimes. If one person insists on doing all the carrying all the time, the intimacy just withers and dies. The Reddit boyfriend was absolutely right. She is in a relationship with herself. He's just a roommate watching it happen.
Mm. And for the professional life, it seems like corporate culture actually rewards this behavior, at least initially. Look at Jane. She's a machine. She gets it all done.
Initially, yes. Corporations love a martyr,
Hmm.
but it has a ceiling. The Choosing Therapy article points out this thing called the burnout cycle. You take on more and more because you cannot delegate. Eventually, your physical body just gives out.
You get sick.
You get sick, you get exhausted, you develop chronic stress conditions, your work quality inevitably slips. You simply run out of fuel. Your body can't cash the checks your trauma is writing.
And what about the social aspect at work?
This is where it gets really interesting. The source mentioned workplace isolation. If you constantly refuse to delegate, or you micromanage, or you insist on doing everything your way because no one else can do it right, you alienate your colleagues.
You become that person.
You become that person no one wants to work with because you're a control freak. You become a bottleneck in the workflow.
You stop being seen as a team player.
Exactly. And here's the great irony. You might get excluded from big, interesting projects or promotions because leadership looks at you and thinks, well, they can't manage a team. They can only manage themselves. You limit your own career growth by refusing to trust others. You become indispensable in the worst possible way. You're stuck doing all the grunt work because you won't let anyone else do it.
So you fall into the perfectionism trap. You think you're securing your job by doing everything perfectly yourself, but you're actually painting yourself into a corner.
A very small, very stressful corner.
Precisely.
And then there is the internal cost, the
Hmm.
stuff that nobody else sees. And this is the heaviest cost of all: the shame. The deep, quiet, crushing loneliness. If you spend your whole life hiding your needs, you eventually start to believe that your needs themselves are shameful. You internalize the lie that if people really knew how messy I am or how scared I am or how much I need, they wouldn't like me.
So you start to believe you are only loved for what you do, not for who you are.
That is the absolute tragedy of hyperindependence. You are loved for your utility, not for your humanity. You feel like a vending machine. People like you as long as you dispense the product, but no one ever hugs a vending machine.
Wow, okay. That really hit home. Loved for your utility, not for your humanity. That is the trap in a nutshell.
It is. It truly is.
But we are not leaving our listeners there. We promised a way out of the fortress. The goal isn't just to be independent. The goal, according to all of our sources, is interdependence.
Yes. And we need to define this really carefully because the words matter a lot here. Interdependence is not codependence. Codependence is, I cannot function without you. I need you to validate my existence. That's unhealthy enmeshment.
And hyperindependence is, I need no one. Ever.
Correct. The other extreme, interdependence, is the healthy, balanced middle ground. It is. I am a whole and complete person on my own. You are a whole and complete person on your own. But we choose to rely on each other to make our lives richer and better.
It's a choice, not a desperate need.
It's a choice that requires vulnerability. It's knowing you could carry all the groceries yourself, but you let someone else carry a few bags because it's just nicer to walk into the house together.
So how do we get there? If someone is listening to this right now and is realizing, oh my God, I am the eldest daughter, I'm the workaholic, this is me, what is step one?
Step one, according to the clinical sources, is the hardest one. You have to work through the trust issues.
Which means therapy.
Usually, yes. Because this is so deeply rooted in trauma, you often need a professional guide to help you untangle that crossed wiring we talked about earlier. Modalities like trauma-informed therapy, EMDR, somatic therapy, these can help your nervous system learn on a physical level that it is safe to let your guard down now.
It's about recognizing the threat is over.
It's about acknowledging that the I can do it myself script is a ghost from the past. It's about mourning the fact that you had to be that way to survive, and then consciously decide that you don't have to live that way anymore.
Okay, so while you're doing that deep, long-term work, are there practical things you can do, like today, this afternoon?
Yes, absolutely. The Choosing Therapy article suggests something I love called the practice run of delegation.
The practice run, what does that look like?
It means starting small, terrifyingly small. Ask a coworker to handle one tiny task, maybe just formatting a document or making a phone call, Or ask your partner to be in charge of picking what's for dinner.
And then, and this has to be the key, you have to let them do it their way without interfering.
Yes, you have to sit on your hands. You cannot hover. If they fold the laundry differently than you do, you have to let it happen. If they buy the wrong brand of salsa from the store, you have to survive it.
It's like exposure therapy for control freaks.
It is. That's exactly what it is. You are exposing your nervous system to the anxiety of loss of control in very small, manageable doses to prove to your brain that the world didn't end. And over time, the anxiety lessens.
Another step that was mentioned was learning to say no, which sounds a little counterintuitive. I thought we were trying to ask for help, not say no to things.
Well, hyper-independent people often say yes to everything because they think they have to do it all to be worthy. Learning to say no is about admitting you have limitations. It's about admitting I do not have the capacity for this right now.
And that in itself is a form of vulnerability.
It's a huge form of vulnerability. It acknowledges that you are a human being, not a machine.
Yeah.
And it preserves your energy for the things that actually matter. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
The sources also talk about building meaningful relationships, but they give very specific advice. Start with just one person.
Don't try to suddenly become a vulnerable open book to the whole world at once. That's just flooding your system. Pick one safe person. Maybe it's that partner from the Reddit story, or a best friend, or a therapist.
And what do you do with that one person?
Try sharing one small struggle with them, something low stakes. I'm actually really stressed about this meeting tomorrow. And then you see what happens. When they respond with kindness and empathy instead of judgment or dismissal, it chips away at that big wall. It provides new data.
It's about taking small emotional risks.
That's the whole game. Small, calculated emotional risks.
There was a really interesting and specific warning in the source material about avoiding codependency. Why is that a particular risk for people who are hyper-independent?
This is a fascinating and tragic pattern.
Hyper-independent people are by nature givers. They are capable, they are competent, they are fixers. So who is attracted to a fixer?
Someone who needs fix. Exactly. People who are chaotic or dependent or underfunctioning. So the hyper-independent person seeking a relationship ends up partnered with someone where they are carrying 100% of the load again.
And that feels normal to them.
It feels familiar. It feels comfortable because it validates their core identity as the strong one. But it completely prevents them from ever learning how to be the supported one. It locks them into their trauma script.
So if you are hyper-independent and you're dating, you have to be really, really careful not to date someone who is just looking for a new parent.
100%.
Yeah.
You need a partner who is capable of carrying their own weight and, crucially, is capable of carrying your weight sometimes, so that when you finally collapse, and you will eventually collapse, they're strong enough to catch you.
That is so profound. Okay, let's flip the script. What if you're the partner? What if you're the boyfriend in that Reddit story? How do you love someone who won't let you help them?
It requires an almost superhuman amount of patience. You have to understand the nervous system aspect we talked about. When they reject your offer of help, it feels personal. It feels like a rejection of you.
But it's not.
It's not. You have to remind yourself, maybe even say out loud, this isn't about me. This is a programmed threat response.
So don't force it. Don't insist on helping.
Don't force it. That will just make them build the walls higher. Instead, you check in regularly. You offer support gently. Hey, I'm heading out. I'm here if you need me to grab those groceries. When they snap back, no, I've got it.
Yeah.
You don't get angry. You don't get defensive. You just say, okay, the offer stands.
You're being consistent.
You are consistently showing up, proving your reliability over time. You are slowly, patiently rewriting their data set on what people are like. You are being the consistent, safe adult they probably never had.
Wow. And the Reddit story, it actually had a hopeful ending, didn't it?
It really did.
Yeah.
The user, the original poster, she acknowledged that her boyfriend was right. She said, I couldn't exactly disagree. She wants to improve. She realized that she needs to do this not just for him, but for herself. And that awareness, that aha moment, that is the first and most important step.
She's moving from just unconsciously acting out her trauma to consciously trying to heal it.
She's putting down the shield.
Yeah.
Or at least she's finally realized she's been holding one this whole time. And that changes absolutely everything.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener who is maybe driving to work right now, gripping the steering wheel just a little too tight?
I think it means recognizing that your hyper-independence is a heavy suit of armor. You put it on because you had to. The world wasn't safe enough for you to be soft in. It helped you survive the war. But for most of us, the war is over.
Mm,
And wearing a full suit of armor to a dinner party or a movie date or just to sit on your own couch, it's exhausting
yeah.
and it keeps everyone else out.
So the very thing that once saved you is now suffocating you.
That's the hard truth. And connection requires need. That's a tough pill to swallow for the hyper independent person, but it's true. To love and to be loved, the walls have to come down, even if it's just one brick at a time.
I love that. Connection requires need. It is okay to need people. We are biologically wired for it.
We are a social species. We literally cannot survive without connection. It's a biological imperative.
So, here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over today. We've talked about how this is a survival strategy, but I want to ask you, the listener, if your independence was a weapon you used to fight a war that is already finished, who would you be if you finally put down the weapon? What does your personality look like when it isn't constantly defending itself?
That's the journey of discovery, isn't it? Finding out who you are without the armor.
So I challenge you, just try one tiny thing today. Delegate one single task. Ask one person to hold a door for you when your hands are full. Let someone else carry the bag, just for a second, and see what happens.
It might just be okay.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Take a breath, maybe let someone help you today, and we will see you next time.